Who is this suspect? Who is the suspect in the CEO attack in New York City? We're learning a lot more about it. I've got my sources that are feeding me some information on this. Also, we've got all the reporting that's out there, all of the latest as the search for the suspect continues, and also the revealing of the identity. For goodness sake, we've seen his face. I know law enforcement must know who this person is. And the more we learn, I think the better profile we're getting on who this may very well be. I'm Vinny Politan. That's Al Wunsch. That's Jonesy. And this is the Tangent Podcast.
It's Vinny and the Tangent. True Crime Podcast. Vinny has the blue eyes, Al cracks the jokes. Jonesy stays behind his shades, entertaining all the folks. It's Vinny and the Tangent. True Crime Podcast. Load up all your comments, hit those super chats. Let's go smash that like button, so we can all have a blast. Vinny, Al, and Jonesy on the job. They're the Sugar Hill gang of true crime. They're telling stories of days gone by. They take crime and turn it into a good old time. It's Vinny and the Tangent.
All right, folks, here we are. The Tangent Podcast. It is Friday, back to our normal time, our normal slot here. Great to see everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. And today, of course, we're talking about what's happening in New York City and other places. As they search for this man who we unmasked on my stream yesterday. As soon as that happened, boom, ready to go. By the way, I did eat before the podcast, so I'm good. Hopefully my blood sugar doesn't die. So we're in good shape.
What did you have?
How are you? What did I have? Oh, you wouldn't believe this. I made, because you know it's tough. I'm in Georgia. So I made this really, really super thin crust pizza, like paper thin. I guess it would be more of what do they call it? It's not pizza, but they give you the what do they call
flatbread?
that?
Flatbreads?
Flatbread. Yeah, it was almost more like a flatbread. Crispy. And I found out what I've been doing wrong all these years.
What's that?
You know what it is?
What?
Not enough sauce. I've been chinsing on the sauce for like 4 years now in making these homemade pizzas. I put on some extra. Oh my, what a difference. So that's what I had.
Very nice.
Al, what's going on?
Yeah, you know, a little this, a little that, Vin. I'm like looking into this assassination that went on of the CEO. I mean, it could not have happened at a worse time for New York City. We were in the middle of the Christmas rush. I mean, that was the day that the tree was going to be lit at Rockefeller Center. And the funny part was that everyone kept saying, well, don't worry about it. He only wanted to get one guy, so don't be afraid. I mean, yet we have a man with a gun running through the streets of New York, and they're telling us not to be afraid of it. So, yeah. And there was a billion people at the tree lighting, so no one really cares. But it's a horrific situation. I am thoroughly convinced this is not a professional. That This is not a guy that there was too many rookie mistakes that were made with regards to this, and we'll get into that obviously later. And but you know, I definitely, when I watched this whole thing going down, I was just checking off how many mistakes this guy made, despite what seemed to be good planning.
Hasn't been arrested yet. Hasn't been arrested.
You know, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because had this been a professional hit, okay, let's say for some reason there was a professional hit out on this CEO, he probably would not have survived, because the mistakes he made in making his appearance known, being in places where he was rooming with other people,
right, and
everything else, would have put whoever hired him into a position going like, this idiot's going to get caught, and he probably would be, you know, somewhere down in the East River, weighted down quite heavily. So, you know, definitely was not a
Here's the thing, though. Like, people are talking about, and I see some people in the chat about turning him in. I think he's on the lam. I think people that know him, I think law enforcement knows who it is. Like, my goodness sake, they know it. Look, you've got his face right here. Plus, you've got NYPD and everyone else working on this. I think they know who he is. I just think that they're looking for him. You know, where did he go after he did this? He had a huge head start to get out of Dodge. He had time to plan all this. And what we're hearing is that he came from where I am, down here in Metro Atlanta, took a bus up north.
Mistake one.
Yeah. Well, mistake, or did he bring his weapon with him? That's why he didn't want to fly, right? That's possible. Could have purchased the weapon, in Connecticut or somewhere else, but could have brought the weapon with him from Georgia on a bus, easier than a plane because you're not getting it on a plane. That could be one reason for that. But there was planning because he's up in New York days ahead of all of this.
Right.
And he knew about this conference and this meeting and everything else. Jonesy, what I'm wondering here when I look at this guy, this picture that we're looking at right here, to me, is interesting because apparently the story behind it is that he's at the hostel. He's staying in a hostel.
Right.
Which
mistake number two.
We could talk about staying in a hostel and like, but I don't know why he did it. Maybe to not be in a hotel with a credit card and all that. I don't know. But the woman, the clerk, is flirting with him apparently and asked him to take it down.
Oh, wow.
And that's how they capture his face on video because he was keeping it covered.
Yeah, she wanted to see his smile.
Yeah.
Wow.
And like an idiot, he did.
'Twas beauty that killed the beast.
Yeah, exactly right.
Now, here's the thing. I wonder if this guy's married. Like, so first of all, if he's married and the profile I'm creating in my mind, this guy's married, probably has young kids, right? I don't know what his wife thinks of him. I don't know what the status of his marriage may or may not be. But what if you find out your husband is this guy, and the reason your husband gets caught because he's flirting with the woman at the hospital.
Straight
you can always look at the menu as long as you come home for supper. That was always the expression that I had heard with regards to saying.
I'm intrigued by the actual incident and how a lot of it involved luck. A police cruiser could have been driving by. That happens in Manhattan. And he got away on bicycle, which is probably the best way to get around at that hour. However, if you leave a bicycle unattended in New York City without chaining it, for more than 7 seconds, it's gone. Somebody's
city bike. It's a city. It's a city. It's a city bike. It's a city bike.
May or may not be a city bike.
I have to imagine it was because just like what
getting mixed reporting last night, Kelly Craft.
Even if it was a city bike, though, you have to lock it, right? So here I am, like trying to make this getaway, and I have to like fumble with like a lock to get on my bicycle and ride away.
Let me talk about the getaway and because what we're learning, right? Kelly Craft from Court TV, where I work in New York City, she reported last night that the hostel is about 3.2 miles from the Hilton where this took place. He didn't ride his bike down there in the morning. He didn't walk. He didn't take an Uber. He took the subway.
Right.
So he takes the subway around 5, right? So if he takes the subway to that area, we know he stopped in Starbucks. They found a bottle of water and a power bar wrapper that they're testing for DNA, right, to put together the case against him. But I don't know where this bike came from. I don't know when he would have had time that morning to set it up. I mean, could it be happenstance that he just happened to be running away and found a bike, or did he stash the bike ahead of time? But when ahead of time? At 5:30 in the morning? Is he stealing a bike if he's not using a city bike? I'm not sure. To me, that's an interesting part of this investigation is Was the bike stashed? Was it just happened to be there? Was it or was it not a city bike? Because now we're getting mixed reporting on that as well. So to me, that's an interesting part of it. But the thing's planned because he leaves Atlanta on the Greyhound bus. It's like 10 days ahead of time. I think it's November 24th is when he leaves. So he's up there way ahead of time, planning and plotting all of this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, he's put in obviously some substantial time on a plot, but has made so many rookie mistakes that he's destined to be caught.
You ready to have your mind blown? You ready? This is
Yeah.
before now. I've got video from before. This video's from before. Let me set it up again. Here he is, walking. Dude's on the phone.
Yeah.
Beforehand. Dude's
Yeah.
on the phone. What is that?
So that begs the
Is that
question.
coordination? Is he working with someone?
That
Is he-
begs that question. That's what I thought. Is he A, saying goodbye to somebody just in
Set
case?
up an alibi.
There's only two people you could be talking to that time in the morning, Jonesy. A co-conspirator or your wife.
Yes. Yes. Well, he could
Who
be
else?
calling one of those sex hotlines. Do they still exist? You know, in the old days, the sex hotlines
Mitch,
were
Who was
quite
the
lucrative
woman who could
before
read
the
your
internet
mind?
took over.
Who is the woman who could read your mind? Dionne Warwick used to, Miss Cleo.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Miss
yes,
Cleo.
Miss Cleo.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Well, that might be a smart move. Calling Miss Cleo to see where he's going to be.
Yeah.
Will I find a bike that I can run that I can race off on?
So
now,
my first,
I see people saying he's the hitman. Nancy is watching on Facebook
Wrong.
saying he's the
Absolutely
hitman.
wrong. Absolutely
I
wrong.
think he's too much of an amateur, right, Al?
No, let me tell you something. Here's the mistakes he made. If he was a hitman, then this was probably the bargain basement hitman. Okay. First of all right, let's start with taking the bus. Big mistake. A hitman would have
taking the bus.
would have had a car rented through somebody else and would have gone that route. Okay. So he would have been driving. So he's by himself. Two, in a hostel where he's staying with two other people. Okay. Big mistake. You would stay in a room by yourself. Okay. You would never have anyone that could possibly be looking into your things or doing anything along those lines or identify you at a later point in time. Three, you don't start flirting with the girl at the counter by any stretch of the imagination. Four, you don't go into Starbucks, which has tons of cameras, especially in Manhattan. Okay. Where you're going to and leave a water bottle and paper and a wrapper, okay, from something that you had consumed there. Five, okay, you don't use that 9mm pistol that he used, which is a very rare pistol to have. Okay, I was taking a look at it, and it is one of those things that like it's a well rod pistol, which is very, very rare. Okay. Also, you wouldn't want it to be a silent type situation. Now, there was no silencer on that. The well rod pistol has a very long barrel, and it enables the 9mm to fire nearly, like in a silent fashion. You don't want that when you're doing assassination in a crowded area like a street. You want as much noise as possible to get everyone panicking and running helter-skelter. Okay,
so you're like Michael Corleone. You're talking about the Michael Corleone,
the Clemenza thing, to stop anyone who any Good Samaritans or something like that. Also, it's a situation where once the panic starts, you can get into the crowd and get lost, and it'd be hard to find you. They were able to see exactly where he ran to, got on the bike, and started going. That's a huge problem.
But there's no crowd at 6:45, right? There's no crowd at 6:45 at the time.
Well, in New York City, there's a crowd all the time.
Was that a crowd? But there's more people.
There's one guy here. There's one guy here with his lunch box over here.
But you've got situations when you start if you start shooting and you're going to do that out there and in in public, and that bang 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 goes off, especially a couple of times, people start panicking. People are going to be coming out. People are going to be running. It's a way to do it. You would never use a silencer unless you were going to assassinate him in his hotel room, where you don't want necessarily the noise to be able to.
Or if you were on an episode of Cannon or Barnaby Jones, then you would also use a silencer.
They always use silencers.
Always,
You know,
always.
It's that silencer.
Go ahead,
that
Jones.
silencer that allowed him to calmly walk away, though, and to get to his bicycle. You know, had it went bang, 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 and you know, and drew some attention. You know, certainly there's a doorman like near the entrance to the hotel.
Yeah,
he wouldn't have been able to make that casual stroll out of there, and he would have looked more, you know, more guilty to anybody who happened to like, you know.
How about this though? How about what Jennifer Harris is, Garrett is saying here? He's talking to his insider info master, right? Trying to coordinate the time that the target is leaving the hotel. Is that possible? Yeah, that's the co-conspirator. I think that's a possibility here. But here and
right, but let me just go on a couple more. Can I just go on a couple more mistakes? Okay, he shoots him in the thigh. He shoots him in the leg first. Okay,
yeah.
Huge.
No, I think it was the back first.
No, I believe it was the leg first. If what I read said it was the leg first, then it was the back.
The video I saw looked like if he got hit in the leg, then it was the back of the leg.
In the back, it was the back of the leg, and then he shoots him in the back. He doesn't put 2 bullets in the head, which is the situation any assassin is going to do, is going to make sure that there's 2 bullets in the head, because then that you're not getting out of that situation. Right. So the situation with that was a mistake. He also was far away from him. Usually an assassin's going to get close. So this way here, there is no issue with regard to him shooting the leg as opposed to the head. And there was no headshot. Okay. So you've got all of those mistakes. You've got him taking off his mask in a room, in a place where there's a camera, okay, where they get a full picture of him, and putting deny, defend, deposed, which is the title of a book, believe it or not, by a professor from Rutgers, okay, that deals with the issue of dealing with the insurance industry and all of the stuff that goes on with regards to people trying to get care and being denied things along those lines. So he automatically put himself into a position of a person who may have made complaints before, who had made some threats, had gotten into arguments with people from the healthcare industry. So, I mean, it was way too many rookie mistakes for it to be an assassin.
All right, let me tell you where I am on this. And yesterday during my stream, I think it was, and by the way, we're streaming live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch. We are blowing up on Twitch, thanks to Big Boss Bose. And we're also on X today. Yesterday, it was a Philly PA girl who said activist. And as soon as she posted that, boom, my mind blew up. And then you go back to what he wrote, apparently with a Sharpie on the cartridges, which was that deny,
defend, deposed.
Deny, defend, depose, right? And I look at that and I'm like, okay, this is an insurance industry or healthcare industry insider. This is someone who's angry with the industry. This is someone who's frustrated with the industry. And that can go 2 ways, right? It can be a personal story, a loved one, or it could be someone who feels like they're going to be the savior. They're going to change the conversation on this by acting out like this. And as soon as I saw his face and his age, that's what I'm thinking. Because that's the age of the activist. That's who they are. You look at these Antifa people. That's the age. That's the profile. He thinks he's going to change the world. He thinks he's going to change healthcare because he's going to expose this. He's going to put fear into these big corporations, and so all the people can get the healthcare that they deserve. That's who this guy is.
Okay, except that. So we're talking sort of like the Unibomber, what that guy was. But you remember the Unibomber was living in some sort of basically a hut in the middle of the woods and everything else. This guy's going to Starbucks. Okay, so what kind of a message are you making as to going after the big shots and going after all the trouble, saying that we got to change this corporate mentality, and you're using Starbucks? Okay, probably the most like it could not be
from Seattle. They're
It could
from
not be
Seattle.
could not be better capitalistic organization in the history of mankind as Starbucks.
Okay, I want to add something to the conversation here, Jonesy. A lot of people yesterday were comparing the unmasked pictures to each other, saying this is two different people, and then comparing the unmasked picture to the masked picture. I was trying to explain to folks yesterday that pay no attention to the colors of the of the video, because that can be changed and different based on lighting, based on how the frame is grabbed. But NYPD, when they put these images out, said this is a person of interest, one person. So we're looking at the same person here, I believe, from two different angles, but in the same place. So it would be from the same video. It looks like it's from the same video camera, for goodness sakes. Jonesy, what do you think?
Well, if you look at the faces, you know, they look a little differently, but it's a profile, smiling profile, and he has a nice smile, huh? Versus versus a shot where he just doesn't seem he's not making the best expression in the world. But the outfits, if you look at them and you keep in mind what you say about the colorization and stuff, yeah, look at you, huh? You have a nice smile too, they say.
But
I look like him.
Look at the background. The background is similar. You see that little stick on the back there, and you can see it on the other thing. And the cameras. It could also be a lighting situation that it affects the colorization of the.
So let's do the next comparison. Okay, the next comparison is the unmasked versus the masked, and let me add that so we can take a look at that. All right, let me start right there. Now, people are saying it's not the same person.
Well, I mean, you can say that, but
but it is. I mean,
it is the same person.
I believe it's the same person. The one on the right is Starbucks. The one on the left is from the Hostel.
I'm sure history will tell us that is the same person.
Okay,
right. I think it's interesting that he took his mask down for the lady. Did he drop his guard because he was enamored, or is it more difficult for you to explain to somebody in that situation who wants to see your face if you're flirting with them? If you say like no, does that bring more attention to yourself? But by dropping the mask, that's it. I think it's interesting how the investigators were able to go back in time on the investigation. Sure, you got cameras that see him heading towards Central Park and going through Central Park and all that. But to find the hostel, you have to go back a few blocks and just keep going back and looking through, approximately what time, but you have to look through so many cameras. It's just a testament to how much we are being watched or documented as we go through our everyday lives, especially in a place like New York City. To how much man hours did it take, and it came forward pretty quickly to go back and get him to the point where he was at the Starbucks, where he was at the hostel. It's one thing to have the to track him going forward. Well, he's heading down. He's heading down 6th Avenue or whatever, or up 6th Avenue or whatever the case may be. Central Park even has cameras, and if I'm not mistaken, drones. Perhaps he escaped in a drone.
Yeah.
Have you considered that fact?
Well, you guys should know all about drones because you are in fact, in New Jersey, where all the drones are happening right now, right?
Droning on as Jonesy is right now.
Yeah. So, Brooklyn Janet with us. United Health notorious for having highest rate of denied claims, and CEOs responsible for implementing a new AI claims adjuster that was being sued for having 90% error rate. People are rightfully angry. And people are angry with their healthcare. I don't think this is a personal grievance, though. This is a man who I believe is taking on the cause the way any activist would take on the cause for the people, and he sees United Healthcare as the villain in one of the villains in all of this, which is why I think, they say this was targeted, but if I'm working at any healthcare company right now, I'm beefing up security because this guy may be on a mission as an activist, and he may be working with others. That's the one thing we don't know. I mean, he's on the phone, could have been talking to his wife, saying, "Oh yeah, I'll be home tomorrow. I'm just, I'm on a business trip." Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Yeah, to make comparisons to the assassination of John Lennon, which happened in the streets of Manhattan as well. Every rock star in the world was, especially the Beatles, were probably frightened and hiring security and taking extra measures. I would imagine that all of the high executives in the insurance business and related fields were, to use the term, running scared.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
Isn't that wouldn't that be a part of what he is trying to do here?
all of these major companies now have taken down profiles of their executives. All of them, all the insurance companies have taken down Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare. All of them have taken down any of the stuff that they had with regards to profiles of their execs for precisely that reason, to protect them in case it's not just one guy. It may be a conspiracy. There may be a group of people who are doing that.
In that regard, with the more than one person, and him being on the phone, his timing, he didn't seem to give himself a lot of time. Like if I were waiting for somebody, and I knew that they had an appointment at a certain hour, you would be there very, very early, and to make sure you didn't miss the person. He wasn't. It's almost as though he got word like he's leaving his apartment.
But he's not going to go without stopping at Starbucks. Like,
well, you need your
I get
coffee,
my Starbucks
right?
first. Land Pirate Radio, fellas, Friday is officially here. Now, you guys don't know this, but I do. Land Pirate Radio is the new name, the new brand of Adam Drives Helen. How about that?
Hey, I was waiting for that.
Well, so this is a historic day today, you're telling us. And you know what that means, Vinny?
I do know what that means.
The Civil War to civil rights and all the revolution fights. World War I and World War II. I'll always know who is who. It's this day in history. This day in history. History. Now let's listen to his story.
All right, Al, what's your story today?
All right.
Al?
So there are two birthdays today that of some true crime note. December 6th, 1941, Richard Benjamin Speck was born. Now, we all know that Mr. Speck had stabbed and strangled and slashed the throats of 8 student nurses in South Deering, Chicago on this July 13th to the 14th, 1966. He essayed one of the 8. One of the, there were 9 women in the area. One of them hid under the bed. And so she was able to watch him and was able to identify him. He was caught 2 days later after he had a failed suicide attempt. And then the doctor who was treating him saw a tattoo on his arm that said, "Born to Raise Hell." And so therefore he was subsequently arrested. He was tried. He was originally given the DP, and then it was converted to life in prison. And he died, a number of years later. Also on December 6, 1908, Babyface Nelson was born.
Ooh.
A criminal of note back in the early.
Didn't Al Lewis play Babyface Nelson in a movie?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question.
Grandpa Munster?
But I remember they always had Babyface Fenster was the one in Bugs Bunny.
Right.
So,
right.
You had that. Now, December 6th, 1969, one dead at Altamont Rock Festival. Okay, Altamont Rock Festival was supposed to be the Woodstock of the West. It was the final show of the Rolling Stones U.S. tour. The Stones have been taking a lot of grief because their ticket prices were exceedingly high. during that tour in '69. So they decided to have a free concert. They had spoken to their friends. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young was going to participate. Jefferson Airplane, Santana, the Flying Burrito Brothers, and the Rolling Stones. Now, Grateful Dead
Beef or
also.
chicken?
I'm sorry.
Chicken or beef on the burrito?
They're whatchamacallit. It was
Chicken?
tofu.
I like chicken too. I don't do the beef burritos. I do
Chicken's the
chicken
best burrito.
Yeah.
So now they have this concert at Altamont Racetrack in Livermore, California, and the genius of the Rolling Stones is they decide, we're going to do the concert for free, so we don't want to have a lot of expenses, so we're going to hire the Hells Angels to be the security at this event. And we're going to pay them.
I believe that was suggested to them by the Grateful Dead, if I'm not
It
mistaken.
was. Well, they said that the Grateful Dead had success using them in smaller venues outside of like Oakland and those areas. So they decide to hire the Hells Angels, and the Hells Angels decide to do it, for $500 worth of beer. So
That's
they
a lot
hired
of beer back then.
after the Hells Angels, $500 for beer. The concert was a disaster from the moment it started to the end. There was 300,000 people that showed up. They didn't expect to have crowds like that. They didn't have proper bathroom facilities. There were fights going on. There was a lot of problems. The Rolling Stones saw what was going on. Excuse me, the Grateful Dead saw what was going on with the people getting angry and fights in the audiences and the way the stage was set up, and they said, we're not playing. So they ended up amscraying out of there. Santana was the opening act, and then the last act was the Rolling Stones. Mick Jagger had been assaulted as he got out of his helicopter to get to the thing, so they knew it was a bad situation. There was an individual in the audience by the name of Meredith Hunter who was highly intoxicated and on drugs, and was getting very, very arrogant, and was getting very, nasty, and was getting aggressive. And so they tried to calm him down. He pulled a pistol out of his belt, and then was subsequently stabbed numerous times and beaten by the Hells Angels. Wow. So one person was killed. 3 other people died with regards to other things that were not necessarily violence by the
heat stroke.
Well, no, actually hit and run. 2 people died in a hit and run, and 1 drowned in a irrigation canal that was near the stadium.
When you have 300,000 people, how does a car go fast enough to hit and run?
Yeah, well, that's what happened. There's a very famous movie about Altamont and what a disaster it was. And there's a great scene where Marty Ballin, who is now watching that the Hells Angels are now beating people in the audience, and he goes down into the audience to stop the violence of the Hells Angels, and they subsequently beat the crap out of him and knocked him out.
Wow.
And then you see Paul Kantner going, you just knocked out our lead singer. And they go, you better watch out or we're going to knock you out. Okay. So that was the situation. So
that's all on this day in history, Al?
In this day in history.
I've got some breaking news. Sandra Dieterman, Vinny, love your hat, but I can't see those pretty eyes.
Thank you. Those are my pretty eyes. Thank you.
There we go. Is that better, Sandy?
There you go.
Now, just so you know, the Hells Angels that were involved with the stabbing of Meredith Hunter subsequently went to trial for murder and were acquitted based on self-defense, because they had the video which showed him taking a pistol out of his belt, and they acquitted the Hells Angels.
That's there you go. Oh, breaking news. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, Sunday, December 22nd, 8 p.m. Eastern, prime time, a special Tangent podcast, the Tangent Christmas special. It's going to be amazing. There's going to be prizes. There's going to be games. It'll be fun. It'll be amazing. And it could go, 3-4 hours. We don't know. We've set no time limit because it's a prime time on Sunday. All are invited. And we're also asking you to be part of the show by sending us one or two of your old-time Christmas pictures. You can send them to vinny'smods@gmail, vinny'smods@gmail. And maybe they'll look like these wonderful pictures that we've gotten already from some of our viewers. I think the one in the middle, Jonesy, is that from your aunt?
It does look like my Aunt May, actually, but not quite. Is that an actual fireplace, or in the old days they used to have heaters that looked like fireplaces?
Yeah,
it almost looks
I
like
think
one of
that's
those.
a faux place. I think that's a faux place. But
Right.
vinny'smods@gmail. Send them. Also include your handle. Include your handle and your name so we know how to refer to you. If you have a really quick story about the picture, the story behind the picture, you can include that. All part of the fun on the Tangent Christmas special, Sunday, December 22nd, 8 p.m. Eastern. Check local listings.
Will we be including Handel's Messiah? Since we're talking about Handel?
I don't know what that is.
What?
How
do you know?
I don't know what it is either, but I know every year there's a star-studded presentation of it that involves my friend David Johansen, and I was just talking about it the other day. But I still have no clue of what it is.
That's a famous classical piece of music.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. By the way, we're on Twitch, folks. Denise76 saying it's the same guy. It's the same guy.
Yeah.
It's the same guy. I agree, Denise 76. That's what police are saying. I know we have to always remain skeptical about everything in the world, but I really believe that Denise 76 is correct here. Let's see who else.
They talk about the first 48 hours, with the TV show and all that kind of stuff. And in this case, it doesn't seem like the first 48 hours, going over that is really going to prevent an arrest in this case. It seems imminent.
Yeah. Yeah. What's also interesting about the guy when you look at him, there is a resemblance, I believe, to the Idaho student suspect defendant.
Yeah. It's funny you should mention that. I was looking at that also. And that actually came to my mind as maybe he got out and he's doing this, but there is a resemblance, especially that one picture, the smiling picture.
Yeah, I think physically they look the same, but I think they're coming from different places. I think one is a psychopath, a sociopath, and I think the other one is an extreme activist who is unsuccessful in his own life. And this is his road to fame. This is his road to make a difference in the world, because there's all these wrongs out there. I think he probably spends a little bit too much time. I don't think he's in his mother's basement, but I don't think he's necessarily employed.
Allow me to profile this guy. He doesn't mind shared bathrooms, and I take that from the fact that he stayed at a hostel. I've never stayed at a hostel. Vinny, you have stayed at a hostel. What was his time there like?
One night in a hostel in Italy, because we got to this town called Riccione, which me and my friend Ronnie Campanella, we went to Riccione, and when we got there, we landed in town. We were the only two Americans. It was like 95% Italians on vacation, because we went, I believe, in August, and like 4 9/10 Germans and me and my friend. And the first night we went to a hostel, and it was the scariest night of our lives. And we quickly found a hotel that would let two 20-year-old guys check in, and that's where we stayed for the rest of the way. But it was scary. It was unsettling. It was scary. But I understand for people it's a lifestyle. It's usually a lot cheaper. You're seeing Europe on a backpack. I think if you're going with a larger group of people, it might even be better, because you kind of there's safety in numbers. But like, you're literally there in a room sleeping with strangers in your room.
Okay, so is there a camaraderie? How easy would it be for this guy to keep to himself?
Oh, he could easily keep to himself. We kept to ourselves. We did not befriend anyone in the hostel in Riccione.
But you've got two roommates. That's what he had.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the problem is that once again, it's people who can identify you. That's what an assassin does not want. Okay. Assassin wants to be, just blend in and not have to deal with anything. And you would be in a room by yourself and you wouldn't take a bus, you wouldn't take mass transit, you would walk if necessary. You didn't want to have any situation where you're going to be on camera or someone can identify you. I mean, that's what assassins do. They are stealth. This man was far from stealth.
Far from stealth. April Diaz, thank you so much. It looks like he has foreign features to me, maybe Turkish. I see a little bit of that. I think he could also be Jewish. I think he could be Italian, with a Roman nose, Roman all over his face. I think he's got that sort of look, right? That, because he's got the dark hair, the dark eyebrows. We see that. He's thin. I could see a Middle Eastern. I could see, Jewish American. I could see Italian American. I could see Greek American in that as well.
Roman nose roaming all over your face sounds like a Borscht Belt punchline.
I think it's a punchline to a joke that I probably botched, but Al would know. I don't. I'm not sure. Jennifer Sube, one of our mods in our mod squad, of course, reminding everyone to watch Closing Arguments tonight and Vinnie Politan Investigates. It all begins at 8 p.m. Eastern right here on Court, not here, but right here on my head on Court TV. Jennifer Sube, part of our mod squad.
Yeah. Order in the chat. Order in the chat. Don't dare attack. We've got order in this chat. The mod squad is on the job, helping us to keep it clean. The mod squad is on the job, always so nice and never mean.
All right, big thanks to our mod squad, Gen X, Frankie Figs, Jennifer Sube. Gen X, I think, is on the road right now, away from any sort of internet connection. But we have to welcome someone, guys. Ashley Bouchard has jumped on and will be moderating the insanity on our Facebook feed. So big thanks to Ashley for doing that. That's going to be awesome because
welcome.
It's like the Wild West. It's like the Wild West.
Yeah.
In there. All right. How does this work? This is a good question from Gunzel on YouTube. What about satellite images? Can they really do that, Al? Can they really take pictures in real time and like they do like with Jack Bauer and other people? They have a satellite picture and they zoom in and they can see everything, or is that still a little bit of fiction?
I think it can be done. I just don't think it is something that can be done automatically. I think that they're going to try to get that. They certainly can start. There doesn't seem to be any reason why they couldn't get it, but I don't think it's like perpetually up there just shooting pictures all that time. So I mean, there's satellites all over the place. I mean, that's just the way it is. But right now, you've got so many cameras on the streets, in the stores, in the places, in the hotels, and everything along those lines. I mean, we really have a situation where it is very difficult to perpetrate the perfect crime. It's very difficult.
By the way, Lauren Katie with us, and this guy was there for 10 days planning this. Imagine the video footage they have. If he was with anyone, that person will be in many hours of footage. I think once they catch him, and I think they're close. That's why I keep checking my feed to see if he's been caught. I think once they catch him, they're going to have a lot of evidence for this trial, but you're going to need it. You're going to have to put it together. Here's the question. Do you think if and when there's a trial in this, if he's an activist, does he use the trial to try to get his point across, or do you think at that point he'll be in self-preservation mode and exercise his right to remain silent?
Self-preservation.
No, he's gonna use it as a stepping stone to bringing out all the cruelty of these healthcare providers that take your premiums but don't give you the services that you need, and it's going to become nothing but that. Okay, and what we call that in the business is jury nullification.
He would have to
So
admit guilt, though, Al.
what?
He would have to admit guilt in order to do that, wouldn't he?
What he's going to say? Listen, I took out the guy that has been. How many people has he taken out? How many people have died because this man has decided that we're not paying for this, we're not paying for that, we're not giving you this, we're not giving you that. Deny, 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 defend, deposed. Okay, I mean, he put that as his mantra. And if you read that book, okay, that book deals with how these companies will destroy you, okay, if you try to fight them for coverage on issues.
All right, this is a great point, Al. You've brought up a great point, because anyone who's been on social media, like, there's two things happening. There's the true crime community who's trying to solve a case, is trying to keep the word out and trying to figure out who this guy is and wants him brought to justice. There's another large faction right now on social media who is attacking the victim, who is celebrating what happened in this. Oh no, it's huge.
Yeah,
it's huge, including some high profile people on social media are like jumping up and down. They're talking about, all right, it's a good start, is what they're saying about taking out these people running these companies, which I found outrageous.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, yeah, you can have your beefs, and I understand it, and I get the frustration, but this is not the way you handle it. This is not the way you take care of it. There are other ways. There's legislation. There's protests. There's competition. There's a million different ways in this country to handle it. This is not the way. But people are celebrating it.
Let's face it. You know, Jonesy, he's not going to execute somebody and then, you know, say that it was for no reason whatsoever. I mean, it's going to be to prove his point that he did this for the better of society. He did this for the reason that, you know, that people's rights have been trampled on. This is the epitome of what's wrong with the healthcare system in the United States. So why wouldn't he use that as his opportunity, as altar to stand upon and to pontificate as to what is wrong with society, what is wrong with our insurance system? And believe me, just was brought up. There is very few people that say, hey, I think, you know, the insurance companies are wonderful. Okay. You're not going to get a whole hell of a lot of people saying, gee, you know what? I like those people. I like the fact that, you know, I have to beg to be able to get coverage on things, and they have no problem taking my premiums every month, but have a hell of a lot of problems paying out. Okay. So, you know, he's going to have to make it into a crusade.
Yeah. Kathy Guidry, what about the insider trading part? A hitman had expensive backpack, shoes, and parka. Expensive backpack. Yeah. He stayed in a hostel, but I think he has money. I think this guy had money. I think he's college educated. I think he's someone who is living a pretty normal life. Like, you look at some of these Antifa activists, you know, who are burning down buildings and setting fires and all that sort of stuff. College educated, come from money, good upbringings, living in the suburbs, living pretty much a privileged life, but take on some cause that they believe that they're going to change the world, either through what they're doing on their keyboards or by being radicalized to an extent where you end up engaging in violence like this. Now, the insider trading, how does that play into it? It plays into the whole thing, right? This guy, you know, that could play into the motivation behind an activist, because it's not just about the healthcare. It's just an executive. It's about profits, and they'll do anything for the almighty dollar bill. So I could see that feeding into it. Absolutely.
But just to your point about that, this man has got, you know, some means. That pistol alone is worth anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500. So it's certainly not a cheap firearm by any stretch of the imagination. This isn't some, you know, Saturday night special that you can get for a couple $100. I mean, that is a very, very well-tuned, a clandestine type pistol that is very, very expensive. So, you know, he certainly has some money on the thing, but you know, the insider trading thing, the guy was being investigated with regards to the insider trading. So it wasn't like he was getting away with anything. It may very well be that he did nothing wrong, because he claimed that he did have permission to be able to sell the shares. And, this came before that there was some other issues going on, and that they were looking into the insurance industry, and the feds were on there. But that's not the reason to kill somebody. If he did something wrong on that, he would have been arrested. So
I think there's some people had a completely different theory, focusing in on the insider trading, saying he got caught. Maybe he's cooperating against someone else, and then someone else would have provided the inside information, and then would have hired someone to take him out. I'm not in on that because of what's written on the cartridges, which to me is someone sending a message. And it's, I think, one of two things. Either it's super personal, but based upon the way he looks, I'm going in another direction. That if it was an older guy, it could have been his wife or his child. I don't think that's the case with this guy. I really don't. I think it's a young person who fits, to me, better into the profile of extreme warped activism. Activism by itself is a good thing in this country. But when it crosses the line into violence, then it's no longer a good thing. Activism, taking up a cause, exercising your right to free speech, protesting, all of that. That's America. But turning it into a violent act, that's where you've crossed the line. You are now a criminal. You are now bad. You are now the villain. You're not getting my sympathy, and you're not getting me to take up your cause necessarily. I understand there's problems in healthcare, but I'm not taking up the cause because of him and what he did. Like, that's not gonna motivate me. I don't know if it'll motivate others. What do you think the impact of all this is? Do you think there's more impact, Jonesy, here down the road, that there's a separate tangent conversation about healthcare and health insurance and health coverage in this country?
Not at all. I think it's, the act of, if this is, our theory is true, then this is an act of an extremist, and it's not going to change a damn thing. And in fact, perhaps, make them a little bit more sympathetic. Like, well, they will make them sympathetic. I strike that. But it's not going to change anything. I mean, people aren't going to say, like, yeah, look, this guy had to do that because the healthcare system is a wreck. I mean, like you said, there are other ways to do things. You yourself had trouble with insurance companies years ago getting a treatment that is now widely accepted, that you had to fight for, that they denied you, and I don't know the full story, but eventually you did get the proper tools to address your situation, and you did it through the proper methods. No, I don't think anybody in their right mind is going to say, like, yeah, like, this guy's right. Like, the insurance.
No, they are, Jones.
They are, Jonesy.
Thousands and thousands of people on social media are overwhelming social media.
I said anybody in their right mind.
Yeah, well, thank you, Jonesy. I appreciate that. That's awesome. Look at this, Al. Lori Lyles. I love when all three get in here. Never know what to expect.
A very valid point. Very, very valid point. But it is not, violence begets violence. By putting that clue of deny, defend, depose, I mean, that book is not even in print anymore, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a very specialized book that
I haven't read it. I'm waiting for the movie.
You wait.
Well, there might be one now.
It's a wonderful film that is going to be coming out. It's starring Martin Short as Deny. Defend is going to be
Martin as the CEO,
right? And
Most
then
people
Depose.
think Jake Gyllenhaal should play this guy.
That's not a bad choice on that. Depose is being done by Wilbur the Wonder Squirrel is playing Depose. So it's going to be a wonderful film.
I got to say, when I first heard about the things that it said on on the shells, the Depose and all that, kind of thing. I thought, well, that could also be to throw people off, because initially, as much as you say, Al, that he made a lot of rookie mistakes, initially he seemed really smooth. The way he got out of there, the way he did it so calmly. Like for him to leave clues like that, like, what is this, Batman? At first, and now I'm leaning towards what you gentlemen are saying. Like, it's somebody who has, wishes to right the wrongs of the industry.
Yeah.
All right, let me put this out there for you, Jonesy. This is, and then I want you to respond. This is Hugh Mann. Love the image there.
Yes.
The CEO is responsible for the death of thousands. Why should we be sad?
Because a human being got gunned down by somebody. That's why.
And I think there's, but here's the thing. It's not even about, and thanks so much, Hugh Mann, for participating. It's not only about why should we be sad. And I think there's two different things here, right? All right. People aren't sad, but it's not that people aren't sad. It's that people are actually celebrating it and encouraging more of this behavior.
That's
So like,
the
if you're
problem.
just here and you're not sad, you don't feel bad. Okay. I get it to a certain extent, but what I don't get is the celebration of this. And that I don't get.
And that's the
Right.
problem. And that's where we are. We have a situation now where does this logically follow next? Go after big pharma, go after all the other, multinational corporations that are, telling us we can't get this, we can't get that, eschewing, cures that we could find that they're not going to put out there because there's not enough money to be made for it. I mean, it's a dangerous, dangerous precedent that we start violence with regards to a CEO who's doing his job for an insurance carrier, gunned down in the street. It's horrific. It is not the way to handle things in a society. And as I said, nobody sits around and says, well, the Unibomber was right. Okay.
No.
The Unibomber had a message that he was upset about with regards to what was going on in the world. And he took it upon himself to unilaterally put bombs together and destroy people's lives and destroy people. It's not the way to get things done. For this man to get to the level to execute somebody, it's very frightening as to where we're going. This expanse of guns that people have the ability to get is just, it's mind-boggling.
The chief shenanigation officer pointing out, well, now our insurance rates are going up because the CEOs will now require intensive private security.
I'd be asking for it if I was a CEO of one of these
Yeah, but
companies.
they're going to pass the cost on to you.
Of course they are. Of course, that's the way it always works. The consumer gets screwed regardless. Okay,
Yeah.
Nothing changes on this. This execution will lead to nothing. Okay, and that's what you have to understand. This is not, we're not trying to in any way, going to spark a revolution. It's not going to happen. This guy's going to go away. He's going to be eventually found. He's going to be arrested. He's going to be tried. He's going to be convicted. He'll get his little chance of 15 minutes of fame to stand up there and talk about, how he was motivated to do this because of self-preservation or because of the fact that thousands of people, like we just saw it, thousands of people have died as a result of these big companies. And the judge is going to say, listen, I'm not going to allow that testimony to come in. It's not relevant. So it's scary that somebody thinks this is going to spark change.
Well, if this guy is truly committed to change, then it begs the question, like, is his work done?
Right.
To me,
it
that also
may
plays
not be.
into the extra security for people involved in this industry. The local news had the victim's former security guard on saying that he was surprised that he carried no security, that he had no security while entering that building.
Interesting.
And how did this perpetrator know that, did he know? He must have known that he wasn't facing security, and also how, okay, so you can find out that somebody's going to be at this hotel because it's a big profile event, the stockholders and all that, but he seemed to know the precise time he was arriving, as though somebody was on the other end saying he's leaving now. I mean, like the timing was just, you don't want to be out there too long because you don't want to be noticed. But
he was noticed.
He wasn't out there very long at all.
He was noticed. I mean, you start seeing that they were interviewing people who said, "Yeah, I saw the guy
more if you were out there." You would be noticed more if you were out there for hours.
But also, if you've got these programs going on, which he was at a seminar or a convention or whatever the situation is, those calendars are public. I mean, when I did the presentation for the Trial Lawyers Association, okay, all of exactly when I was speaking is public.
Al, what was your opening joke? Your warm up to the trial lawyers.
And take my career, please. Was the start on that one.
Francine O'Donnell has written A Vigilante. I think this requires a little bit of analysis. When I think of a vigilante, we all think of the same thing, right? We think of Charles Bronson, Death Wish, right? That's the first thing. Would you consider this a vigilante? I think in some people's minds, they look at a CEO as someone who is a villain, right? So you're taking out a villain. But in reality, it's not your traditional vigilante act. A vigilante would be taking revenge on, your wife's red rummer. You're riding the subway and you've got a roll of quarters in your socks and some guys are hassling some women and doing some bad things. And then you take the law into your own hands. We've seen that movie, part 1, 2, 3, and 4.
And 5.
And 5. But this is not the traditional vigilante. But do you think he sees himself potentially as a vigilante?
Well, okay, you mentioned the joke aspect of it. I'll never forget when Mad Magazine did the parody of the Death Wish. And so there was the scene where the guy, he said, listen, you put quarters into your sock. So if somebody comes after you, you can use that as a weapon to hit the sock. You hit them in the head with it and everything else. And so then the next scene, you see the guy, and the guy got beaten up and everything else. Goes, well, didn't you put the quarters in the socks? He goes, well, I'm in New York City. You told me never to carry cash, so I put traveler's checks in the sock.
Great comment from Vinny's upper lip. I've seen
Carl
people be
Malden. May I go on the tangent of Carl Malden? Traveler's checks. He used to represent the American.
Don't leave home without it. Same with Michael Douglas.
That was my summer job one year. I had to organize all the traveler's checks at the bank because they were a mess.
Ooh.
How about that? That was back in the day. That was the early 80s. Vinny's upper lip. I've seen people be sent home due to insurance company not paying, therefore no more chemotherapy. Yeah, that's a problem. That's what we're talking about. That's what I believe. And nothing in what we're saying about cold-blooded red rum on the streets taking someone out means that this conduct is okay by an insurance company. What we're saying is this is not the solution to it, number one. And number two, we should not encourage this type of solution by celebrating it, right? Okay, you want to say, listen, I'm not going to shed a tear. I get it. Maybe you and your family have been personally impacted. I get it. But I think that's different than publicly celebrating and encouraging more behavior like that, because that's actually happening on social media, and it's actually happening by some high profile influencers, which is the more shocking part of it. And I get it. I know the frustration. I get it. But the means do not justify the end, or am I mixing that up, Al?
That is
the end does not justify the means.
The end doesn't justify the means.
Right.
I don't think. Yeah, maybe that's a bird in one hand and half a dozen in the other. I don't know.
But it's you're 100% correct. Okay, this is not going to lead to any type of substantive change. It is a very dangerous situation that innocent people could have been hurt in this act. This wasn't a this was a situation on a street. Okay, this man was a husband, was a father. Okay, and he was gunned down because of his position, because of what he does for a living. And okay, no one likes the insurance industry. No one likes paying premiums. No one enjoys any of that. Unfortunately, we need to, and we do. So you're not going to get a lot of people being sympathetic, but that doesn't mean, okay, that this guy is justified in executing somebody in cold blood, but with his back turned, even more of a coward way of doing it. Okay, so there's nothing here. There's no heroics in the action of this individual. None. And it should be, put out that now Christmas time, this guy's kids are not going to have their father. Yeah. This is what they're going to remember every year when Christmas comes around. Their dad was executed like a dog in the streets. Yeah. That's horrific.
And people celebrated it.
And that's even worse. I mean, and I saw that his house has been targeted with bomb threats. I mean, this is unbelievable.
Yeah. Kara Untapped, one of our great followers, subscribers on Twitch. I'm trying to gift a sub each stream. Wish I could do more. Kara, I'm just going to be completely honest. I'm going to figure out Twitch. I haven't figured it out yet. I've got a conference call set up with my son who knows how it works. And
the classic people of our age turning to children to teach us how to use the technology of the social media.
Yeah, but it's a platform that is vibrant. It's awesome. I'm so excited that Big Boss Bose rated us the other day, so I really appreciate that. And I'm gonna figure out everything I need to know, because I know I'm probably not doing everything I should be doing over there. And I'm going to figure it out, Kara Untapped. Thank you so much. Okay. Who else do we have here? Let's see. Jennifer Harris Grant says he's definitely got money. He's definitely got some money. He's either got money or his wife's making money, one or the other.
Or his parents have money.
Does anybody know if parents? Does anybody know if you could stay in a hostel? I mean, you need a credit card for any hotel in the world.
Yeah, Hostel, I'm not sure, but he had a fake New Jersey ID, is our understanding.
Which is, once again, New Jersey getting the bad rap, because if you remember, the hijackers also had, for 9/11, also had phony New Jersey IDs.
Did you have a fake ID, Jonesy, back in the day? Did you ever need one?
No, but all the kids at school used to go to Times Square to go to those arcades and get fake IDs. And I assume that they didn't work, but who knows? More so, it probably worked back then. These days, I'm told by some younger kids that I worked with not long ago that they get fake IDs online. And, I don't really say it to them because I don't want to belittle them. But I think to myself, like, they're not going to work.
Well, what's worse is that now, see, when we were younger, what would happen is the bouncer would just tear it up in front of you or confiscate it or something along those lines. Now it's a 4th-degree crime in New Jersey to use a phony ID.
Wow. Well,
I was at a place in Point Pleasant, I was at a music club in Point Pleasant, and when you presented your ID at the door, it was actually a police officer, and they took a photograph of it.
Wow. So my story is, you guys know I don't drink, so I never needed an ID to drink, but I like to go to the clubs because I like to dance. Dance. I like dancing, right? So we would go to one club that was in Fairview, New Jersey, and you walk in. No. You walk in with your ID, you give it to the bouncer, and the bouncer will go like this. All right, you're good. would make sure he would not look at it because they would just let everybody in. We would do that. We would go to New
Hey,
York.
Vinny, was that Feathers?
No,
Feathers is in Hackensack.
it wasn't Feathers, Jonesy. I didn't go to Feathers. I went to Club
I've been to
Passion.
Feathers.
Club Passion in Fairview, where
Club
you had that was the Disco 92 hangout.
Yes,
You had
Jose the Animal Diaz was the DJ.
Paco's panty parties and everything else along those lines.
This
Yes,
is Paco.
And then now here's the other thing. This was still in the day, and you guys remember, this is before the picture licenses. We had paper licenses.
That's right. Yep.
So I just had my brother's license. He's a few years older than me, so I used my brother's license to get into the disco.
Yeah, there's no pictures on it. You're right.
And I
100%.
felt like I wasn't really breaking a law because I wasn't using it to consume alcoholic beverages. I just wanted to dance. I just wanted to dance.
You can't try a man for dancing. That's for sure.
And speaking of dancing, don't forget, folks, the Tangent Christmas special, there might be some dancing.
There could be some dancing.
There could be some dancing. So that's Sunday the 22nd, 8 p.m. prime time, folks. Mark your calendars, please. All right.
It's certainly going to be prancing. I don't know about the dancing, but there will be prancing. That's for sure.
I'm going to be dancing. I'm a dancer by nature. Hey, Tony, can I wipe your forehead?
Oh, yes. One of the greatest movies, Saturday Night Fever.
Yes. You know what's interesting? Whenever people reference these days, like someone will come up to me, oh, yeah, and they're referencing Saturday Night Fever, they always say Saturday Night Live.
I used to do that when I was a kid by mistake.
Yeah, they would say, oh, yeah, just like Saturday Night Live. And I'm like, what are you talking about, Saturday Night Live? I didn't no, Saturday Night Fever, because I'm a dancer.
Yes,
I saw the 40th anniversary showing at a theater on the big screen, and I was really excited. Gina and I went there expecting to see like Disco Stew and people like dressed up and everything. It was disappointing in that regard, but I'd highly suggest you young folks check out Saturday Night Fever. Absolutely.
Jeff Almazian on YouTube. I'm surprised that the reward hasn't increased. Me too. That's a great point, Jeff. Thanks so much. $10,000. Hey, United Healthcare, or a family member. I mean, could you put it up to 100?
Well,
maybe that's what they're waiting.
I don't know, but I'm speculating. I'm guessing that $10,000 is probably offered by the city of New York.
It's crime
stop.
Of course, the amount that they offer.
That's the standard offer on any type of murder in the city. But you're right. I mean, you would think that the United Healthcare would be putting up some sizable money, and believe me, at that point, then they're like they say, there's no atheists in foxholes. There is no situation where you put $500,000 up there that doesn't motivate somebody to go, it was my Uncle Pete. So
if United Healthcare were to put up money like that, big money, wouldn't this play into this whole insurance company thing? Because who's gonna pay for that reward?
I get it. So maybe their PR department is trying to weigh whether or not they should put money in, is my guess.
Well, they have insurance on all of these guys. Okay, so I mean, when you're an executive of these big companies, you have an insurance policy with the company, one for your family, obviously, but there's also one with the company, because you lose a CEO, that's a big loss, especially a situation like this. This isn't like a logical succession. I mean, this is a huge corporate disaster that they have to now rectify. So there is insurance on that.
If this were fiction, the stock price of assume, I don't know if they're traded or not.
They're
a public company. That's why he was there. He was there in New York because this was their big investors in this publicly traded corporation were there for the purposes of being able to ask questions and being told where things are going in the future. This guy had set up a program with regards to like the Medicare C which was a government-sponsored program, and United Healthcare. If you watch, and I know, Jonesy, you watch a lot of MeTV, but you see those ads for Medicare C, all right, where they're all, like, well, this has got stuff that you're not going to get on Medicare A or Medicaid B. That was this guy took that program and blossomed it.
Yeah. By the way, Al, those are all the commercials on Court TV too.
Okay. I never watched the commercials on Court TV because
Right.
I'm on every Monday, 8 to 9, okay, with Vinny Politan on, and it's just a wonderful opportunity. When we were sitting in the back room, here's a little behind the scenes thing. When we're sitting there, okay, in the commercial breaks, we get to watch Vinny on screen. That's what they force you to stand there and sit there and watch him during the entire thing for the commercial break. So every commercial break that you guys get when you're on Closing Arguments, watching that at Vinny Politan, I have to sit there and watch Vinny with the tie, with the makeup, with the we'll do it now, we'll do it live, and he will be doing all that kind of stuff. So I don't get to see those commercials.
Well,
Big thank you to Ann. Thank you for your support. Ann, I want to roll through some more of the comments before we run out of time because we're going to run out soon. Michelle L. Anything can be weaponized, even activism for a perceived good cause. I don't think this was a personal issue for him. I agree, Michelle L. In 2024, extremes are more normal, and I couldn't agree more with what Michelle L. is saying there. I think that's great analysis. We've got Shishi, 1980. BCBS walked back their anesthesia policy yesterday, and McDee's is bringing back the snack wrap. CEOs are sweating. So you heard what Blue Cross Blue Shield was talking about, limiting the time of the time of the anesthesia that they would cover for a procedure, which is insanity.
Right.
Public pressure, they walked it back. That's the way to do it, is the public pressure. But I'm wondering if this was the combination of the public pressure and what happened in the streets of New York, if it had some combination there too. But yeah, that was another big part of the story. And is it just me, or is that a different backpack and different jacket? Okay. I don't think so on the jacket. The backpack, I'm seeing it. Maybe it could be a different backpack because one is at the hostel, presumably before he leaves. He may switch backpacks. He may not switch backpacks. But again, the coloring of the video can be distorted greatly. But a lot of people are saying that the jackets look the same because the pocket designs, and there's this one little white little piece that looked very, 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 very similar there. I just want to roll through this to make sure we get, I never want to leave out the, here we go. Here's Jimmy from Lynn, probably from Massachusetts. Delay, probably deny, defend is the correct name of the book, Vinny. Delay, deny, defend is the name of the book.
Right. I said it was by a professor. It was written by a professor from Rutgers.
Oh, is he a Rutgers guy?
Yes, he is.
Interesting. A Scarlet Knight. Now, is he a Rutgers New Brunswick or a Rutgers Newark? My father went to Rutgers Newark.
I believe it was Rutgers New Brunswick.
Okay.
Hey, Vinny, you say Newark with 3 syllables. When you're from this part of the country, it's Newark. One syllable.
Yeah, I was always a Newark guy. Newark. I never did the Newark. Newark.
Well, if you're in Delaware, it's Newark.
All right. All you need in OK is a black light to see if it is fake.
What?
Okay. I'm not quite understanding that.
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
I wish I understood it, but thank you, Aya. Kathy Guidry's back. The government demands you have insurance and penalizes you if you don't. The insurance companies charge you outrageously and deny claims. You can't win for losing in the great old US of A. And I think most would agree, if not all would agree, Kathy, that we need something to level the playing field. And this is the one thing that kind of crawls on me a little bit is when we equate health insurance with health care. They're two different things. Health care I get from my doctors and my nurses. Health coverage is what I get from an insurance company, right? That I pay for. Okay. Thank you, Kathy. And who else we have here? Terry. Vinny is so darn adorable. Thank you, Terry. Al hates those so much.
Is there no end to my pain?
All right. All right. April Diaz saying goodbye and have a great weekend. Thank you so much, April. Thanks for supporting the Tangent podcast. And April using tangent colors there. Those are the official tangent. Oh, here we go. I is talking about Oklahoma IDs. So your ID, so your fake ID, they have a way to figure out whether or not it's real or fake. All right, guys.
They scan them, and now let me just say, in New Jersey, because you've got these new IDs, they're called the real IDs.
Yeah, real.
They put them right into the computer, and they scan them right there, so that you can't make them up.
It's all computers these days.
It's all that things.
It's all on the computer. What does your son do?
3 things in here, but there, bada boom, bada bing, you're all done. You know what I'm saying?
What does your son do? I don't know. He does something with the computers. I don't know. He does something with the computer.
He does something with the word ifin. Ifin? Yeah, ifin, he's doing something. I don't know.
All right. Al, where can folks find Al Wunsch the Third?
At Legal Weapon 3 on X, and then every Monday night I am on with Mr. Politan, okay, on Closing Arguments, 8 to 9.
8 to 9.
And send hate mail about Darnell to courttv.com. Okay, thank you.
Jonesy, where can folks find the radio legend?
Best place is to go to the website and find out all the frequencies and airtimes and streams and archives. It's glennjones.net. Glenn with one N, like mommy intended it to be.
Okay. Every morning I usually, if I'm not playing pickleball or at the gym, I go for a nice walk. So I was going for a walk yesterday with this bottle of water, right? In this blue bottle. I'm walking down, and this woman starts looking at me strange. She got closer to me. She said, looks like a beer. I thought you were getting the day started early. It was like 8:30 in the morning. I'm walking.
Well, you got to learn to walk before you can run. Okay.
Exactly. All right, folks, you can watch me on Court TV 8 to 9, Closing Arguments, then 9 to 10. Vinnie Politan investigates 2 hours of live true crime on television. The only guy in the business doing it. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And every Monday, my good friend Al is helping us out. That's it for now. I'll see you tonight at 8. Big thanks to our mod squad. Big thanks to everyone who supported us and the great comments and conversation. Here's a question. What time is Vinny on PST? It would just be a 3-hour difference. So yes. I always give time in Eastern. So you got to do the math.
So it would be 5. It would be 5 p.m.
6:21.
It'd be 5, but it repeats. So it's probably on at the same time. The replay is probably on at the same time. So awesome. Great to see everyone.
What time are you on at Greenwich Mean Time?
Oh, I don't know. Greenwich.
I believe it's a 5-hour difference.
It depends. But with daylight savings time, because I think it changes. So it gets tricky. It's tricky.
Tricky.
All right.
Way to walk around too much.
Say goodbye, Jonesy.
Goodbye, Jonesy.
It's Vinny and the Tangents, True Crime Podcast. Vinny has the blue eyes, Al cracks the jokes. Jonesy stays behind his shades, entertaining all the folks. It's Vinny and the Tangents, True Crime Podcast. Load up all your comments, hit those super chats. Let's go smash that like button, so we can all have a blast. Vinny, Al, and Jonesy on the job. They're the Sugar Hill gang of true crime. They're telling stories of days gone by. They take crime and turn into a good old time. It's It's Vinny and the Tangents, True Crime Podcast.